Danny Black, and welcome to the At Sports Vault podcast. On this podcast, I will be talking sports cards, collectibles, memorabilia. I'll be interviewing hobby guests. I will be talking about my own thoughts. I'll cover regular sports that relate to the hobby. That's the fun part. More importantly, I want you along for the ride. So click like and follow for more content, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Baltimore Sports Collectibles at Sports Podcast. We're doing a live edition today with my friend Tony. We are, what are we, Thursday, and the time zones are different, and I got to remember that. But we are somewhere in the afternoon, but we are going live because you got some exciting stuff going on. So, Tony, for anybody who has not gotten a hug from you, tell them who you are and what you have ending tonight, and then we'll start back with a bunch of questions.
Absolutely. My name is Tony Giese from Heritage Auctions. I'm a consignment director / cataloger. I also do a lot of the sports shows throughout the country. And tonight our auction ends. And tonight's the baseball cards. Our first session, our second session is tomorrow night is the memorabilia, and then Saturday is the third session, our final session. So we break it up over 3 nights, and tonight's the first night, so we're excited seeing all the bids coming in. And you build up an auction. It takes months and months of work, multiple people doing so much sacrificing, and then you get to watch the whole thing kind of go to its conclusion, which is really, really fun for us. We love doing this, and it's a long night, but it's always a fun night because you get to see some of the stuff goes for much more than we could ever anticipate, and the market's really strong right now, so we're very encouraged by everything.
Now we're back. Sorry about that. So we do have the cards ending tonight, but I want to take a step back. This is which auction for you in the calendar year?
This is our fall, our end of the year auction. We every auction, every major auction house has their fall / winter Christmas sale. This is ours. We usually have it the week before Thanksgiving. So because people, Thanksgiving, they're going to be with their families and everything. So it's a strong auction, loaded with graded cards, loaded with high-end memorabilia, player collections, kind of something for everybody.
So this is where I should do my Christmas shopping?
Absolutely. There's tons of things, all kinds of price ranges, all kinds of players. You got new guys, we've got vintage, we've got player collections, we've got game use, this and that. So kind of something for everybody.
All right. Well, I've known you for a while. I know that you are a diehard, and anybody can look at your background and pick it up pretty quickly. Wisconsin and Green Bay fan. So I don't know about this auction, but when stuff comes across your desk that you really have that personal 8-year-old connection to, does it hit you differently?
It's very difficult. And I'm a collector at heart. I don't really sell a lot. And for me, it's tough because it's hard to stay as a collector. It's hard to stay focused because, hey, I like this. Hey, I like that. Hey, I want to get into this. I want to get into that. And to really have it focused is a difficult thing to do. I mean, I love game worn jerseys. I love type 1 photos, autographs, not as much into the cards, but it's really hard with the memorabilia to keep it on the straight and narrow, because I mean it's just so tough, because and then you've got vintage stuff, which is really expensive and hard to find, and then you've got the new stuff that's a little bit easier to find. So there's all these different areas, but I like to say this about Heritage: it's a rotating museum. You're constantly seeing the coolest stuff. We've got a Ty Cobb bat ending tonight. I didn't even know that it came in. And it's a $2 million estimate on it. One of the nicest early.
I love how you just casually say we have this $2 million.
I know, and I didn't even know we had it. And there's just this beautiful, stunning autograph on it. And I mean, I think it's a game use 10, and it's one of the nicest Cobb bats in the hobby. and the guy just brings it out, and it's amazing the stuff that comes in and out of here. It's just
Well,
incredible.
I can vouch for that. And for full
Hmm.
disclosure, I've worked with you guys before, and I love you
Hmm.
guys. But I had you on today as a friend because we enjoy talking the hobby. And the hobby's seen a lot of changes. I interviewed you. I forget what show it was, we used a clip on the radio, and we asked you to predict the future of the hobby, and where you saw it going. And this was about 6 months ago, and you said memorabilia tickets. Well, I think you've been proven pretty correct that anybody who listened to that has probably done better than certain other parts of the market. Um, the card part, as you mentioned tonight, is still huge. But are you seeing, I guess, a shift? Because you mentioned vintage memorabilia. Are
Hmm.
you seeing a shift in general on memorabilia and cards to vintage, or is it still just as hot and modern?
I, I think some of the card money, because a lot of people made a lot of money on cards, has spilled into the memorabilia a little bit. And I
Interesting.
think some of those guys some of the guys made a lot of money on cards and they want to get into something else. And memorabilia is really popular and very limited. I mean, think of a football player. I mean, they would typically wear two home jerseys and two road jerseys a season. Whereas, some of these cards, there's thousands of them out there. So I think people are starting to grasp that some of these uniforms, some of these game use bats are really, really limited. And I think, the high end stuff has really gone up in value quite a bit because there's not a lot of it, and there's not going to be more coming out.
So tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday are going to be big nights. Uh,
Mhm.
you guys are not the only auction house. There's auctions almost every weekend, whether it's online cards or something larger. Do you guys have a competitive point where you say, listen, we border on oversaturation, or we have to be pickier on what we take in,
Mhm.
or so and so just got this, we need to make sure we get the talk to me about the kind of the mechanics on how something gets chosen or ends up in your auction.
Mhm. It's a happy medium, is what I'll say. We of course everybody wants the high end, the Ruth bats, the Cobb bats, those really high end pieces. But you also have to be willing to work with some of the lesser stuff. We have Sunday internet only auctions where there's no catalog or anything like that, which allows us to take some of the lesser stuff. So you're not just cherry picking somebody's collection. I will say this, there's a lot of new blood in our industry. There's a lot of new, fresh faces that I've been doing shows for 15 years now, and you're starting to see a younger crowd, which I love. And I think because I'd be at a show and I'd be like, okay, my generation collected. I'm 46. Does the next generation care about this? And you're seeing it, and you're seeing with the modern cards, especially a lot of new people, a lot of younger people. I was in Toronto last weekend for a show, and there was a lot of younger people, more than I've ever seen before at a show. And it's very encouraging to see because it just shows you that the next generation does care about sports and does care about collecting, especially.
Well, I think you and I agree on the it's nice to do this, but you have to have a passion and a love. And
Hmm. Hmm.
so when you and I are about the same age, so when we see that getting passed down, it's more than just buying the physical card. It's that whole love, that whole passion. Um, and you mentioned that you collect in PC. You don't have
Yep.
to give names, but where do you look for stuff? I mean, are you like every one of us, just searching the catalogs, the
I
eBay?
mean, I look at, you look at eBay's. I travel a lot to shows, so a lot of times I can find stuff at shows. We used to do shows in San Francisco, and you'd find some cool Oakland Raider stuff or 49er stuff. We're going to be in Chicago tomorrow. There's a lot of, maybe I'll find some Packer stuff or George Halas stuff. So I mean, there's going to different shows. You have to be more and more creative now than ever before because it's easy. Information is so much more easier to get. It's more readily available with the internet. You can search things a lot easier, so it's much more difficult to find these diamonds in the rough. But auctions is a really good way to find stuff. But also going to flea markets, you can try that. We hear a lot of stories of people finding things at a flea market. It does happen. Doesn't happen a lot anymore, but things still get out there that way. So it's just it's I have this conversation a lot. It's harder and harder to find really cool stuff.
And that's what I was wondering when, in the last couple of
Hmm.
years, I think it's more a function of the people who have the items. So,
Hmm.
or here on the news, everything's gone for $1 million, and so everything I think came out that people didn't pay attention to. So the
Yep.
question is, when does that pipeline dry up?
I think you have seen it dry up for a little bit. I mean, there's, I do type one photos and I've done it for a long time. And I remember when you could find type one photos all over the place. And now there's a couple auction houses that have them. We get them. There's another couple other auction houses that also get them. But other than that, they're really getting hard to find. So I think a lot of the higher end stuff is tucked away in collections, and not that they're never going to come out again, but I think also the values have gone up so much in the sports memorabilia and the cards that people are understanding now that some of the uniforms, some of these cards, they just keep going up and up and up. I mean, if you look at we were talking about there's a 1963 Hank Aaron Gem Mint 10 in our auction tonight, and right now it's at I think 155,000. That card was probably purchased for 3 or 4 grand. Yes, maybe 25 years ago, but so many of these cards have gone up exponentially that I think a lot of people are holding on to some of the really really good stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm always dumbfounded when you can find a $12 million card in a desk drawer. That gives me hope that there are a lot of desk drawers out there. And so as a lover of the physical items and the history, I don't want that to dry out. That I just listen. Even if I don't own it, I want to hear the story. I want to see it. I want to feel that connection with history.
I
Um,
can't tell you how many times that I tell somebody, it's not about it. Of course, it's always going to be the item, but so many times it's the story behind the item, how it's pieced together, how some of the stuff got out there, game worn shoes, from a ball boy or from the announcer. I mean, there's just so many stories, and they're all different in their own way. And that's what keeps people coming back. That you can still find things at a flea market, at a Goodwill, and make a lot of money on. So I mean,
well,
there are still things out there.
I'll be honest, as a history lover, I mean, I think one of the things, and maybe this is where my other question came from, I love going through the whole catalog because there are some real great finds and some really unique pieces. It's almost overwhelming
It is.
because the problem is, because I want to be honest, I want to look at the stuff I can't afford.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I'm not skipping that. So,
Sure, sure.
and because that's the eye candy. So, how do I manage to get through all of that because I love it all.
Hmm. And I still like having that catalog there. There's something you can go and scroll online and do everything. Yes, I've got mine right here.
This is an older, not this auction, but yes, everybody's got to have a heritage catalog within arm's reach at all times.
I have a collection of them. I can
I
send you
bet you
some if
do.
you'd like some.
Well, can
But
they
no,
be graded? Wait, can they be graded? Is there going to be a market for those?
they're getting too big now.
Yeah.
You're gonna need like a box now. When I started at Heritage 10 years ago, it was memorabilia and cards under a pretty good sized catalog. Now we have two very large catalogs, one with cards, one with memorabilia. But back to your point, I like having that printed catalog to go through everything. It's just so user friendly that way. I know you can go and scroll online and you can make the photos bigger, but just having everything right there. And there's these great auction photos,
I love it.
descriptions, and everything else, and it just really
I
is.
will say the quality of the catalog is fantastic.
Yes, yeah, a lot of time and effort goes into that, and editing, and there's a photography. There's a lot of things, And the one thing is, you get done with one catalog, you go right to the next. We got
I
done
know.
with our November. Now we have a little bit of a lull, and then we start Platinum Night February. So it's never ending, but it's fun stuff though too.
So
It's something to enjoy.
which items coming up? or do you think are the coolest? Because I've got a couple that I think are pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we've got some that are just now. I
For you,
really like
you
the game
personally,
use
you
bats.
personally, yeah.
I I really like the game use bats, and we've got some great ones tonight or tomorrow night with the Ty Cobb. That's photo matched actually to a photo with Cobb and Joe Jackson. I think that's a cool piece. We do have a Jordan game used jersey, which those have pretty much doubled in value in the last 2 or 3 years. Um, there's a lot of quality game used bats in this sale. We've been building up this auction for months now, ever since the national, and I like the bats because they all have their own personality to them. They have, ball marks, pine tar, taping. There's just so many attributes that are so cool, and every player is different on how they use their bats and prep their bats and kind of do all that. So for me, when I look at this auction, I see a lot of quality game use bats.
Well, I agree with you, but you're wrong. So I just put up on the screen what I
I
think.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that item though,
I
because
mean, you're talking about a rookie era game use signed Ted Williams glove.
mhm,
I mean, come on, Tony. This is ridiculous. This is
it checks all the boxes. I'm going to say
it
that,
is
and
so sick.
it is, and a lot of our consignment directors, we were here looking at that glove, and there was about four of us in the office one night when we were in our deadline, just looking at the glove, the photo matching, the provenance. I mean, it's got everything you could want. And I mean, a glove is such a personal item to a player. They don't use a
Exactly.
glove for 1 year. Some of these players actually use them for, of course, multiple years. But I've actually talked to some of the players, Devon White being one of them, who used one glove basically his entire career. So
Well,
really cool
his
item that is.
his glove was magical. So if I
Mhm.
were him, I wouldn't have switched gloves either.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So I know the glove to me is phenomenal, but one of the things that I find important is the provenance. Like you talked about, but how much time did the player spend using that item? And I know that recently the Babe Ruth glove sold, but there was some question: how much time did he spend? When you see that Ted Williams glove, and you see that it was used, and you've got that. I mean, I know that Ted wore that,
Hmm.
and there's
Hmm.
not, like you said, there's not a lot of Ted Williams gloves that are ever going to be available because there
No.
was only a couple to begin with.
I mean, and these guys were superstitious above anything else. Most
Oh,
players are very,
absolutely.
very superstitious. So if it works, they're going to use it and they're going to use it again and again. And so many times you'll see gloves that have, they would send it back to the company and get it fixed after the season. And it's not like they had three or four gloves to choose from. They had one main go-to glove and maybe a backup. And this one, again, if it's because it's photo match, there's a great story to it. It's really, really unique and really cool. And, if you've got a Ted Williams uniform, if you've got a Ted Williams game used bat, this is the perfect thing to add. I mean, because again, you may go 10 more years until you find something as nice as that glove that we have in the auction.
Well, I love that. But the other thing that I love, because it's one of my favorite sets, is the 51 Bowman, uh, number 8 on the PSA registry. Um, and we can have the debate, but, I'm a big believer that it is the rookie cards
Hmm.
um, for Mantle and Mays. Um, and I think this set is gorgeous. I
Yeah,
just think
it is.
the
I mean,
artwork is gorgeous.
those 50s sets have a timeless. They are just so timeless.
Yeah.
For me, I always thought that the 54 top set is the most beautiful, just with they have the upfront photo and then they have the action shot. But I always like I like the 54 set. But oh, there you go, right there. I think that is the most beautiful set. It's spaced off so well. The colors are so vibrant in that set. But I mean, 51 Bowman, it is his first. Wow. Yep. Look at that. Yep.
It's
So
the Orioles' first year in Baltimore, so I
okay, so you got to
PC.
load up then.
These are all Orioles, so I
Mhm.
just collect the Orioles from that year. But I love the look of the card, so I couldn't agree
Mhm,
more.
mhm. But
Uh,
yeah, there's just something about those sets. They just jump out. Those drawings are just so beautifully done that there's nothing like it.
okay, Now, I want to. Some people are not familiar with the auction process, and I
Mhm.
actually have gotten a couple calls in the last couple weeks for people that are confused. Deadlines, bidding, extended bidding.
Yep.
Could you do me a favor and just start kind of like I know
Explain
nothing?
the process. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
really
so
basic.
so typically an auction like ours is open for 28 days. You don't want to have it, for a week only. You don't want to have it for 2 months. So for us, 28 days allows, us to get the catalog out, get it in our consigners' hands, in everybody's hands, and then give them enough time to make, what they want to bid on, what they want to go after. How it works for us is you have up until 10 o'clock the night of the auction ending to place your initial bid. Once you place your initial bid, you can bid in the overtime session on that lot. It's I know I mentioned before, it's kind of like a happy medium. You don't want to have an auction going on until the next morning, until 6 o'clock in the morning, because then people on the East Coast have an advantage over people on the West Coast. So we do it a lot by lot with a 30-second clock. So if you make a bid at 9:59, that and then at 10 o'clock it starts the 30-minute countdown. And if a bid is on that lot, it extends it for 30 minutes. If another bid comes in, and it extends it for 30 minutes. So you're not staying up all night, but you're not also, you're giving everybody a chance to bid. So it's not, it doesn't favor, somebody because they're on the East Coast or West Coast.
So if I want to buy that 51 Bowman set, and assume that's going to be in the card night tonight,
Yep.
uh, right now I forget what it's at, but I don't necessarily want to put my final price. Right, I just want to get to the next round, and would that
Exactly.
be
That's what a lot of people. There's a couple ways of thinking. There's some guys that are like, you know what? I want to scare everybody away. And okay, if it's at 200,000, I'm going to put 400,000 right now, so
okay?
people know that I want this thing and that's what I'm going to pay. A lot of guys that I talk to, they'll put their final bid in before they go to bed, and then try to sleep if they can. A lot of times people, they want to know if they won or not, and then they'll wake up the next morning and, oh, I won it. Oh, I didn't win it. So I personally like to do just stay up, make bid, bid, bid,
Right.
just to go, each bid. But there's no right way of doing it. There's no wrong way of doing it. Sometimes, guys, what you hear a lot of, especially when I'm at a show, that people will say, I'll put my bid in and go to bed. And then if they wake up and win it, great. If they don't, but I've had some guys that are on that phone. They're online, but they're also on the phone because they want to make sure that they get their item. So
I
it's a
couldn't.
fun
I
time
couldn't.
for me. I love auction night.
Yeah. God bless the people who can go to bed.
I can't. I
Yeah.
can't. I could tell
No
you
way.
stories from way back before the internet was. I mean, when the internet was
Oh,
just
sure.
starting up, and dial-up internet, and am I the high bidder? And I kept calling this auction house as a youngster, and they were getting really sick of hearing me keep calling back. But fun
But
times, stuff you'll never forget.
and I'm still that way. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
if I have a bid in, on any site anywhere, I can't go to sleep.
No,
You know,
no, I
you know,
have to know. I have
and
to know, and I hit
if I do
refresh before.
accidentally, I'm awake at 2:30 in the morning checking my phone. So,
Yep, yep.
okay. So, what do people need to know going into tonight? I think we have your information at the bottom of the screen.
Yep, just ha.com, and the cards are tonight. The first session cards are tonight. So just get your bid in by 10 o'clock Central Time. If you try to make that bid at 10:01, you're going to be locked out, and you won't. We can't do anything to help you. So I encourage people to make, just get that initial bid in there on the lot that you're after, and then kind of, you can kind of see what happens, see where it goes. That's a lot of times, some of this stuff will go up like crazy at the very, very end. Typically in an auction, 80% of your bids come in the last 2 days of an auction. People are smart. They know to wait, 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 wait.
Right. It's like it's the strategy you talked about.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
all right. Well, Tony, way overdue to have you on. Mea culpa on me. We got to do this again.
We could
Uh,
do it anytime you want. I love doing this. It's fun to talk to hobby, talk to somebody else passionate about the hobby, and you know, we love
and you
doing
know,
it.
and
We love it. We,
I'm tired of seeing you all over the country in different states. Yeah, this way we can. we can be actually be in different states and talk.
And we could talk absolutely
Right?
anytime.
Exactly.
Well, let's do it again.
All right, buddy. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Always good.
Uh, Thanks
Take
for
care.
watching the Sports Ball podcast, Tony. If you don't mind staying backstage for 2 seconds, and thank you very much, guys.